You've got 30 days to pack up and leave. That's what Marcus said, standing in the middle of the living room like he owned it. Which technically he did, or so he thought. I was holding a mug of coffee, still in my pajamas, sunlight pouring through the kitchen window like it didn't realize the ground was falling out from under me. I'm serious, Jordan, he continued, not even making eye contact. I need the space. Got a new tenant lined up. Someone who can pay real rent. I blinked. Not because I didn't understand, but because I finally did. After everything I'd done for him, covering his bills, defending him to our family, moving in when he was too depressed to function, he was evicting me like a stranger. So, I'm a nobody now, huh? I said quietly. He just shrugged. You always were. I didn't say anything after Marcus walked out that morning. I just stood in the middle of that quiet kitchen, his kitchen, technically, where I had made countless meals for both of us when things were falling apart. Where I used to believe blood meant something. The thing is, I wasn't always this version of myself.
Calm, steady, prepared.
I used to be the fixer, the helper, the one who showed up when nobody else did. My name's Jordan Evans, 31, graphic designer by trade, problem solver by instinct. I wasn't flashy or loud like Marcus. I didn't chase applause. I just did what needed to be done, especially for family. Growing up in Charlotte, North Carolina, we didn't have much. Mama worked 2 jobs, and when she couldn't, Grandma Ruth raised us. She was the soul of the house. Old gospel music, Sunday biscuits, and rules spoken like scripture. Always keep receipts. People forget real fast what you did for them. Grandma Ruth. Marcus was 2 years older. Always the golden boy. Mama used to say he had that spark, the kind that drew people in. Teachers loved him, girls adored him, and he knew how to talk himself out of trouble before he could even walk into it.
Me?
I stayed quiet, usually behind a book or a sketch pad, watching everything. He got away with murder, metaphorically speaking. When he stole $500 from Grandma's emergency fund to buy sneakers in high school, I took the blame. When he dropped out of college, I helped Mama clean up the mess. But I never held it against him, not then. That was family. You covered for each other, even when it hurt. When Grandma Ruth passed, she left behind a letter for each of us. Hers to me was short but firm. You got the strength, baby. Just don't forget you got sense, too. Don't let loyalty rob you blind. I didn't fully get what she meant, until much later. 3 years ago, Marcus hit his rock bottom. Lost his tech job, got caught up in some real shady circles. Pills, gambling, you name it. He called me crying one night from a payphone in Atlanta, saying he was cold, hungry, and done. I drove 6 hours straight without sleeping, picked him up from a gas station near Decatur. He looked like a ghost. Clothes loose, eyes sunken, smelling like sweat and shame. I brought him home to Charlotte. Got him clean. Helped him apply for jobs. Paid off his overdue car note. I even co-signed the lease on that uptown apartment, his fresh start. When he couldn't afford rent, I paid it. When he missed interviews, I covered with the landlord and his temp agency. That apartment wasn't just a place he lived, it was my sacrifice, my energy, my stability poured into bricks and carpet. And over time, things seemed to turn. Marcus cleaned up. Started talking about dreams again. Tech startups. Investment portfolios. Flipping properties. He sounded like the old Marcus, sure, but shinier, more ambitious. I didn't realize the ambition would come with a price tag. Last Thanksgiving, we hosted dinner at the apartment. The table was full, Lisa from across the hall, our cousin Tarek, even Mrs. Green from downstairs brought her famous sweet potato pie. Marcus was all smiles, cracking jokes, telling stories like he was hosting a late-night show. Y'all better watch out for my baby brother, he said, throwing an arm around me. He's low-key brilliant. Dude used to design comics in middle school. Remember those? Everyone laughed. I smiled, but something in his tone stung. It felt patronizing, like I was still 10. Then came Christmas. He gave me a gift card to a coffee shop and a shirt that didn't fit. Meanwhile, he bought himself a new MacBook. Said it was for business. I started noticing signs. Phone calls in hushed tones, folders with legal documents he didn't want me to see, him locking his bedroom door, even during the day. Then in March, he told me he was exploring some real estate options and might need the place back soon. Where would I go? I asked. He shrugged. You're smart. You'll figure it out. No empathy. No gratitude. Just calculation. It was like watching a mirror version of Marcus. The same face, same voice, but with all the humanity scrubbed out. I tried to talk to Mama, but she brushed it off. That's just how brothers are. He's stressed. I even called our cousin Tarek.
He paused on the phone, then said,
Jordan, I hate to say it, man, but he's been talking like he owns the place. Told me last week he's thinking of renting it to some influencer chick. Thought he was joking. That was when the knot formed in my stomach.
Tight. Cold.
Final. I went to my drawer, pulled out the old brown folder Grandma Ruth had left for me. Inside were documents I had kept carefully filed and stored. Receipts. Co-signed agreements. Texts. And the most important thing, a notarized deed transfer that had slipped Marcus' memory when he signed it over 2 years ago during one of his business ventures. I looked at the official stamp. My name. The apartment.
The date.
He didn't just forget I existed. He forgot I had receipts. That night, I stood in the hallway of the apartment while Marcus laughed on a call in the living room, probably planning my exit. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I just watched. Quiet.
Calm.
Ready. I had spent a lifetime being the backup plan. The background character. The brother who forgave too much and expected too little. But that version of me? He was gone. It was exactly 6 days after Marcus told me to leave. I waited patiently, not because I was scared, but because I wanted the moment to unfold perfectly. Not like some yelling match or dramatic explosion.
No.
I wanted precision. Silence that cut sharper than a scream. He had invited a real estate agent over that afternoon. I heard them talking in the kitchen, laughing like this was just business. No second thoughts. No hesitation about throwing his own brother out. We can repaint the walls, he told her. Maybe do a minimalistic white Enwood vibe. Get that luxury aesthetic people crave. Love that, she replied. This place has great bones. You'll make a killing. That's when I stepped into the room.
Calm.
Collected. Wearing the same expression he used to wear when bluffing through poker nights. Unreadable. Oh, hey, he said, barely glancing my way. You've met Janine? She's my agent. I nodded politely. Nice to meet you. Marcus, can we talk for a second? Whatever it is, it can wait. He chuckled, winking at Janine. My brother's not used to all this grown-up business. I pulled out a plain manila folder. No flash. No drama. Just paper, truth, and time. You might want to take a look at this before you make any promises. He rolled his eyes, but I didn't move. Eventually, he sighed and snatched the folder. He flipped it open, and I watched the change, like a light dimming behind his eyes. The top page, notarized deed transfer. Second page, payment receipts. Third page, email threads and signed agreement with the building's management acknowledging me as co-owner. Marcus went pale. What is this? He asked, voice cracking slightly. You signed over your half of the lease 2 years ago, remember? When you needed startup money. You said it was temporary, but we had it notarized. You were behind on rent. I paid up front. This isn't a rental, Marcus. It's mine, legally and financially. He stood frozen, lips parting but no sound coming out. Janine looked between us, slowly backing away. I'll let you guys handle this. She grabbed her purse and slipped out without another word. Jordan, he said finally, quieter than I'd ever heard him. Why didn't you say anything before? Because I didn't need to. I thought we were family. I took a breath, steady and deep. But family doesn't treat each other like disposable furniture. You weren't just evicting a roommate. You were evicting the man who saved you, who fed you, who paid for this place while you got your life together. He sank into the chair by the counter, eyes staring at the pages like they were written in a foreign language. You can't be serious, he muttered. You'd really kick me out? No, I said gently. I'm not kicking you out. I'm just making it clear that you don't hold the cards here. You never did. I let the silence linger. Let it seep into the walls, into him. Legally, I can ask you to leave, I continued. But I won't.
Not yet. I want you to sit with this.
To really understand what you tried to do. Later that night, he came knocking on my bedroom door. I opened it. He looked smaller somehow, like someone had turned down the volume on his ego. Can we talk? He asked. I nodded and led him to the living room. He paced for a moment, then turned to face me. I messed up. I was stressed about money and I thought if I flipped the apartment, I'd get back on track. I wasn't trying to hurt you. You just did it anyway, I said plainly.
He winced.
I could see the weight of realization settling on him, not just about the deed, but about the way he'd spoken to me, the way he'd treated me for years. You've always been there, he said quietly. Always. Even when I didn't deserve it. No, I corrected. Especially when you didn't deserve it. He sat down, rubbing his hands together. So what now? I leaned back. That depends on you. I'm not going to sink to your level. But I also won't forget what you tried to pull. I'm giving you the chance to stay here for now. But we're going to talk terms. Real ones. Boundaries.
Rent.
Respect. He swallowed hard. Okay. I stood. And you're going to stop calling me a nobody. He looked up. You're right. I'm sorry, Jordan. It wasn't perfect. It didn't erase the years of hurt or the cold slap of betrayal from someone who shared my blood. But it was a start. And more importantly, it was my choice. I thought clarity would bring peace. It didn't. For a couple of days, Marcus was quiet.
Cooperative even.
He kept to himself, didn't slam any doors, washed his own dishes. But I could feel the tension seeping out of him like steam from a cracked pipe. He wasn't used to not being in control, and he hated it. The third morning, I came out of my room to find a stranger in the kitchen. A woman, early 20s, heavy makeup, scrolling through her phone while sipping from my favorite coffee mug. Hi. I said. She looked up like I was the guest.
Oh.
Marcus didn't tell you? I'm Jenna. I'm moving in. Moving in? Before I could even respond, Marcus strolled out of his room wearing gym shorts and fake confidence. Jordan, he said like this was normal. Relax. She's just crashing for a bit. She needed a place. Things are complicated. Not here, they're not, I said, voice sharp. She needs to leave. Jenna raised her brows.
Wow.
Rude. Marcus smirked. You said I could stay.
You.
Not your Tinder leftovers. Jenna scoffed and grabbed her purse. I'll wait downstairs. When she was gone, I turned to him. Do you think this is a joke? He shrugged. Why do you care? You got what you wanted, right? You own the place now. That's not the point. This isn't some power trip, Marcus. You live here because I allow it. Don't forget that. He rolled his eyes and walked back toward his room. I stared after him, heart pounding, not with fear, but fury. Later that week, I found out he'd been spreading lies to our family. A call from Aunt Denise confirmed it. Jordan, she said, voice tight, I heard you kicked Marcus out of his own apartment. After everything he's been through? What? I said, stunned. He told your mama you tricked him into signing something. That you're taking advantage while he's recovering. My blood went cold. That afternoon, I confronted him. Why are you lying to the family? He didn't flinch. Because no one ever believed in me. You've always been the golden child to Grandma. The quiet genius. I was the screw-up. I figured if you're going to play the savior, I might as well be the villain. I just stared at him. You actually believe that crap, don't you? I said slowly. You chose to be reckless. I just cleaned up after you. You think you're so much better than me? He shot back. You design stupid flyers for dentists and think that makes you God. I clenched my jaw. I run a creative firm with 7 clients and 2 employees. I built it from scratch while paying your rent. So, yeah, I think I might be doing something right. He laughed bitterly.
Wow.
Listen to yourself. There it was, the manipulation, the gaslighting. You're just jealous, he added. That I bounce back faster. That people like me more. Like Jenna?
I said.
She used your toothbrush and dipped before noon. His face twitched. You're spiraling, Marcus. And dragging everyone down with you.
I don't need you, he said.
I never did. Then leave, I replied. Silence. But not the good kind. That night, I sat on the balcony with a glass of wine and the city humming below. Lisa, our neighbor from down the hall, stepped out on her own balcony and waved. Everything okay over there? I smiled faintly. Working on it. She walked over to the railing that divided our units. You know, I've lived next to y'all for 3 years. You were always the quiet one. The one doing laundry at 11 p.m., helping old Mr. Bennett fix his thermostat. Marcus? He barely remembered my name. I chuckled. Sounds about right. She hesitated. Can I be real with you? Please. I always thought it was your place. I blinked. Marcus walks like he owns everything, but you move like you built it. There's a difference. Her words hit something deep. I did build it, I whispered. The next morning, Marcus tried again. Made pancakes. Played the brother card. Come on, man. Let's not do this. We're all each other's got. I stared at the stack of pancakes. Is this before or after you told Aunt Denise I was a con artist? He didn't answer. I'm not doing this anymore, I said. The half-truths. The fake apologies. He leaned in, voice lowered. You think you're better than me now? No, I said calmly. I know I am. Not because of what I own, but because I've done the work to heal.
To grow.
You just want shortcuts. He flinched like I'd slapped him. I walked away. That week, I gave him a formal lease agreement. Market rate. Month to month. He crumpled it and tossed it in the trash. I printed another copy. He ignored it. I sent a digital version with a 7-day deadline. He didn't respond. So, on day 8, I served him a formal notice. He lost it. You're really doing this? He screamed. You're really choosing paperwork over blood? No, I said. I'm choosing peace over chaos. Enter Lisa. She knocked on my door 2 nights later, holding a pie and a file folder. I talked to Mr. Bennett, she said, referring to our elderly neighbor and part owner of the building. He told me something you need to see. Inside the folder were community meeting notes, complaints filed under Marcus's name, and 2 notices about unauthorized subletting, Jenna and another girl from 2 months ago. Building management could evict him based on this alone, Lisa said. If you want me to vouch, I will. I stared at the pages, then looked at her. Thank you, I said quietly. But I think I have one more thing to say first. The final confrontation happened on a Sunday. I walked into the apartment to find Marcus packing. Not neatly. Frantically. Like a man being chased by his own mistakes. You don't have to leave like this, I said. He didn't answer. I gave you every chance. Boundaries. Respect. A fair rent. He zipped his duffel bag. I thought you'd get tired of playing landlord. I got tired of being your doormat. He froze. You don't want help. You want someone to blame. He looked up. So, what now? We're just done. I nodded slowly. For now. Until you can show up as a brother, not a parasite. He swallowed hard. Where do I go? I shrugged. That's not my responsibility anymore. He walked past me without another word. And just like that, the door closed behind him.
For real this time.
The silence after Marcus left wasn't empty. It was healing. For the first time in years, I could breathe without bracing for emotional shrapnel. The apartment, which once held his chaos, his resentment, his ego, finally felt like mine. Not just legally but spiritually. I didn't rush to fill the space he left behind. I didn't sublet or repaint or move his things right away. I just let the quiet teach me what peace sounded like. It was a few mornings later, sipping coffee on the balcony, when I saw Lisa again. She was carrying a small toolbox and a potted plant. You still thinking about painting that wall? She asked. I smiled. But now I'm thinking about building a little studio nook. For the firm. You finally taking that leap? I nodded.
Yeah.
The timing feels right. She handed me the plant. Then let this be the first piece. It was a simple pothose, green and full of life. Exactly the kind of thing Grandma Ruth would have loved. Plants don't yell. They just grow. Grandma Ruth. A week later, I officially converted the second bedroom into my design studio. What used to be Marcus's mess became my mission. I took on 2 new clients, brought in a junior designer from my old college, and started crafting the kind of business I used to only dream about during sleepless nights. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about building something that reflected me, calm, focused, generous, but no longer gullible. Then came the call from Aunt Denise. "Jordan," she said, sheepish, "I talked to Marcus. He told me the truth." I was quiet. He admitted everything. Said you saved him. Said he didn't know how to handle it. I exhaled slowly. "Thank you for telling me." "I'm sorry I believed him," she added. "I understand. He's persuasive when he wants to be." She paused. "I just want you to know you did the right thing. And we're proud of you." That meant more than I expected. Later that week, Lisa invited me to a small gathering in the courtyard. Just neighbors, some potluck food, and acoustic music. I was hesitant, but I went. And something strange happened. People I barely knew began sharing stories about Marcus, how he'd been rude, dismissive, full of swagger but little follow-through. One woman said he offered to flip her unit in exchange for upfront rent, then ghosted her. Another said he borrowed tools he never returned. "I always thought you were the owner," one man said. "You were the only one who ever shoveled snow." That comment stayed with me. Around that time, Lisa pulled me aside. "You know," she said, "you could apply for the building board. They're looking for new members. Someone with integrity." I laughed. "Me? I just survived family drama. I'm not exactly politician material."
Exactly, she said.
"You're grounded. We need that." So I applied. Not because I wanted power, but because I wanted accountability. I got accepted. 3 votes to 0. Funny how things come full circle. Then, one afternoon, I heard a knock. I opened the door and froze. It was Marcus. He looked different. Leaner. Not sickly, just stripped down. He held a brown paper bag and didn't meet my eyes right away. "I got your favorite," he said. "Tie from that place near Grandma's old church." I didn't move. "I'm not here to stay. I just wanted to talk. If that's okay." I nodded slowly and let him in. We ate in silence. He kept glancing around the apartment, clearly feeling like a stranger in a space he once claimed. Finally, he spoke. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For trying to erase you. For being jealous. For being weak." He didn't cry. He didn't collapse. He just owned it. And that was new. We talked for an hour. About Grandma Ruth. About the family. About therapy. "I'm seeing someone now," he said. "Like a real therapist. Not just YouTube." I nodded. "I can't promise I won't mess up again," he said. "But I can promise I'm trying." I looked at him for a long time before answering. "I forgive you. But I won't forget." He nodded. "Fair." I walked him to the door. As he left, he turned around. "You really made this place something special." "No," I said gently. "I made me something special." He smiled. And then he was gone again. But this time, it didn't feel like a loss. A few days later, I hosted a small gathering. My first real celebration in the space. Lisa came. So did Aunt Denise. Even Mr. Bennett made an appearance. We had candles lit, jazz playing, and Lisa made her infamous lemon tarts. People brought flowers, art, conversation. At one point, I stood by the window, looking out at the city lights. I thought of Grandma Ruth. Thought of how she'd warned me not to let loyalty rob me blind. She was right. But I also remembered something else she once said. "Sometimes, baby, you gotta let him lose you to realize you were the gift all along." Before everyone left, I walked Lisa to the elevator. "You know," she said, "you've changed. Not just stronger. Lighter, too." I smiled. I'm finally living on my own terms. We hugged. Then I walked back into the apartment, turned off the lights, and stood in the quiet. It didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like peace. 3 months later, the apartment looked nothing like it did before. Gone were the chipped blinds and Marcus's forgotten sneaker pile in the corner. The energy had shifted, clean, intentional, soft but strong. I'd painted the walls a warm taupe, added sheer curtains that let the morning sun spill across the wood floor like a quiet blessing. The second bedroom had officially become Evan's studio and design. I hung my own work on the walls, bold typography, earthy textures, murals rooted in Southern heritage. Grandma Ruth's portrait stood framed above my desk, watching over me like she always had. Clients came and went. Lisa referred me to a nonprofit down the block, which brought in 2 new accounts. Even Mr. Bennett asked me to redesign the newsletter for the building's HOA. Business was flowing, but more importantly, so was purpose. For the first time, I wasn't surviving. I was thriving. One Friday evening, I hosted a studio warming party. Nothing fancy, just close friends, jazz vinyls, a big pot of gumbo, and a lot of laughter. I had candles burning, citrus and sage, just like Grandma used to light after Sunday dinners. Lisa arrived early as usual, carrying a lemon tree sapling in a clay pot. "For your balcony," she said. "You've already rooted enough in here. Time to root something out there." I grinned and took it from her. "You've got a thing for symbolism." Guilty. By 8 p.m., the apartment was full of warmth. Conversations hummed, neighbors mingled, and for a moment, I stood in the kitchen, just watching, taking it all in. Aunt Denise clinked her glass. "Can we toast?" she asked. Everyone turned.
"To Jordan," she said.
Who reminded all of us that being quiet doesn't mean being weak, and who turned a storm into a sanctuary. I laughed, a little embarrassed but also proud. "To growth," I said, raising my glass. "And to finally learning how to choose peace, even when you were raised to choose everyone else first." The room erupted in claps and smiles, and I felt it deep in my bones. I was home. A week after the party, I ran into Marcus. He was coming out of a community center a few blocks away, holding a clipboard and talking to a group of young guys. I waited. When they left, he walked over. "You've been busy," he said. "So have you," I replied. "I volunteer now," he said. At-risk youth. Talking to them about mistakes. Choices. I nodded. "That's good." He looked down, then back at me. "I know we may never go back to how things were, but I hope one day we can be something better." I thought about it for a second, then said, "We already are." He smiled, hands in his pockets. "You always were the better man." "No," I corrected. "I just stopped pretending you were." He chuckled, nodded once, and walked away. It wasn't a movie ending, but it was real, and that mattered more. One morning, 6 months after Marcus moved out, I sat with a mug of tea, looking out over the city. The lemon tree had sprouted 2 tiny green fruits, new beginnings. Inside, my studio glowed with soft sunlight and new commissions. There was a calm rhythm to life.
Work, friends, space, peace.
And more than anything, clarity. I wasn't a victim of my past. I wasn't a forgotten brother, the backup plan, the stand-in. I was the one who stayed, the one who saw it through, the one who took the wound and turned it into something beautiful. That evening, I sat with a box of old family photos. I found one of me and Marcus on Grandma Ruth's porch, both laughing, both still innocent. I framed it, not to forget what he did, but to remember who we used to be, who we could still become. Right beside it, I placed a recipe card in Grandma's handwriting. Lemon tart, good for healing bitterness. I smiled. Life had given me lemons, all right. But I didn't just make lemonade. I planted the seeds. The sun dipped low behind the skyline, casting golden light through the apartment. The lemon tree stood tall on the balcony, swaying gently in the wind. Inside, the smell of sage lingered in the air, and soft jazz floated from the speakers. I leaned back in my chair, the city humming beneath me, and exhaled without tension for the first time in a long, long time. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need validation. I had something far better. A home, a legacy, and finally myself.